Seeing the God Pan. This is a modern-day take on a very old story. I'm really glad you made it, Clark. Wasn't sure you'd be able to get away. I managed to clear my schedule for a few days. Things are pretty quiet right now. But Raymond, are you absolutely sure this is safe? The two men strolled slowly across the terrace outside Dr. Raymond's house. The sun hovered low over the western mountains, casting a dull red glow with no shadows. The air was still, and a gentle breeze drifted down from the woods above, carrying the soft cooing of doves. Below, the valley stretched out, the river winding lazily between the hills. As the sun dipped out of sight, a thin white mist began to rise from the ground. Dr. Raymond turned to Clark abruptly. Safe, of course. The procedure itself is straightforward. Any competent surgeon could do it. And there's no risk at any other stage. None. No physical danger at all, I promise. You've always been cautious, Clark. But you know my background. The last 20 years immersed in what people call fringe medicine. I've been labeled a quack, a fraud, a lunatic. But I always knew I was on to something. 5 years ago, I made the breakthrough. Since then, every day has been preparation for tonight. I want to believe you, Clark said, frowning. But are you absolutely sure this isn't just a fantasy? A beautiful idea, but just an illusion? Raymond stopped walking and faced him. He was thin, middle-aged, with a pale complexion, but his face flushed with intensity. Look around you, Clark. You see the mountains? The hills rolling like waves, the woods, the fields, the corn, the meadows by the river. You see me standing here, hear my voice? But I'm telling you, all of this, from that star just appearing in the sky to the ground beneath our feet, it's all just a dream. Shadows hiding the real world. There's something beyond this illusion, beyond the distractions and the noise. I don't know if anyone's ever truly seen it before, but tonight, you and I will witness it through someone else's eyes. You might think I'm crazy, but it's real. The ancients understood what it meant to lift the veil. They called it seeing the God Pan. Clark shivered. The mist rising from the river was cold. It's incredible, he said. If you're right, we're on the edge of something extraordinary. But, is the surgery really necessary? Yes. Just a tiny adjustment to the brain, a microscopic tweak that most neurologists wouldn't even notice. I won't bore you with the technical stuff, but you've probably seen articles about recent breakthroughs in brain science. Digby's theory, Brown-Faber's discoveries, they're just catching up to where I was 15 years ago. And I haven't stopped since. 5 years ago, I made the discovery I mentioned earlier. After years of struggle, frustration, and doubt, I had a sudden insight, almost by accident, and everything changed. I saw a whole new world mapped out in my mind, a realm untouched since humans first looked up at the stars. You might think I'm being dramatic, but it's hard to explain literally. Imagine an electrician suddenly realizing that everything he thought he knew was just child's play, that the real power could reach the sun, even beyond it, into other systems. That's what I felt. I stood here one summer evening, just like this, and saw the vast gulf between the physical and the spiritual. And in that moment, a bridge of light connected the two. Brown-Faber's book mentions a mysterious group of brain cells whose function no one understands. I know exactly what they do. With a single touch, you can activate them, connect this world to something beyond. Yes, the knife is necessary. But think about what it will do. It will tear down the wall of perception and, maybe for the first time ever, allow a human to see the spirit world. Clark, Mary will see the God Pan. Just think it through, Raymond. This is a huge responsibility. If something goes wrong, you'll never forgive yourself. I thought about that. But even if the worst happens, I don't think I'd regret it. I saved Mary from the streets when she was a child. She was starving. I gave her a life. I think that life is mine to use as I see fit. Come on, it's getting late. Let's go inside. Dr. Raymond led Clark into the house, through the hallway, and down a long, dim corridor. He pulled a key from his pocket, unlocked a heavy door, and gestured for Clark to enter the lab. It had once been a billiard room, now lit by a glass dome overhead. A pale gray light filtered in as Raymond lit a shaded lamp and placed it on the central table. Clark looked around. Every inch of wall space was covered with shelves holding bottles and vials of every shape and color. At one end stood a small antique bookcase. Raymond pointed to it. See that parchment? Oswald Crolius. He helped point me in the right direction. Though I doubt he ever found it himself. He once said, "In every grain of wheat lies the soul of a star." Strange, isn't it? The lab was sparsely furnished. The central table, a stone slab with a drain, 2 armchairs, and an odd-looking chair at the far end. Clark raised an eyebrow. "Yes, that's the chair," Raymond said. "Let's get it ready." He wheeled it into the light and adjusted the seat, backrest, and footrest. It looked surprisingly comfortable. Clark ran his hand over the soft green velvet as Raymond fine-tuned the levers. "All right, Clark, settle in. I've got a couple hours of prep work to finish. Had to leave some things for last." Raymond moved with quiet precision, checking his instruments, scribbling notes, and occasionally muttering to himself. Clark sat back in the armchair, watching the doctor work. The soft hum of the lamp and the faint clinking of glass were the only sounds in the room. After a while, Raymond paused and looked up. "She's ready," he said. Clark stood and followed Raymond through another door into a smaller adjoining room. It was dimly lit, with pale green walls and a single bed in the center. Mary lay there, serene and still. Her dark hair spread out like a halo. She looked impossibly young, almost fragile. Her face calm and expressionless. "She's under sedation," Raymond explained. "No pain, no fear. When she wakes up, everything will be different." Clark hesitated. "Does she know what's going to happen?" Raymond's face hardened slightly. "She knows enough, more than most people ever will." They returned to the lab. Raymond began laying out surgical tools on a tray beside the chair. Everything gleamed under the lamp's glow, precise, sterile, inevitable. "I've rehearsed this 100 times, Raymond said. Every step, every movement, there's no room for error." Clark nodded, though unease crept through him. "And when it's done?" Raymond looked up, eyes shining. "Then we wait. If I'm right, she'll see beyond the veil. She'll glimpse the world that lies beneath this one. Not metaphorically, literally. She'll see what no one else has seen." "And if you're wrong?" Raymond didn't answer immediately. He stared at the tools, then at the chair. "If I'm wrong," he said quietly, "then we've simply failed to open the door. But I don't think I am." A soft knock interrupted them. A nurse entered, guiding Mary gently into the room. She walked slowly, her eyes distant but calm. Raymond helped her into the chair, adjusting the supports with practiced care. "Mary," he said softly, "just relax. You won't feel a thing." She nodded, her voice barely audible. "I'm ready." Raymond turned to Clark. "You might want to step back." Clark did. He watched as Raymond took up the scalpel, his hands steady, his face composed. The room seemed to hold its breath. The incision was small, precise. Raymond worked quickly, his movements fluid and confident. Clark felt his stomach tighten as he watched, but Raymond never faltered. Minutes passed. Then Raymond stepped back, wiped his hands, and looked at Clark. "It's done." Mary sat motionless in the chair, Her eyes closed. The room was silent. Then, slowly, she opened her eyes. Clark leaned forward, heart pounding. Mary blinked. Her gaze was distant, unfocused. Then her lips parted slightly, and she whispered something. Raymond leaned in. "What did you see?" Mary's voice was faint, but clear. "I saw him." Clark felt a chill run down his spine. Raymond's face was pale. "Pan?" Mary nodded slowly. "He was beautiful and terrible." She began to tremble. Her eyes widened, and her breath came in short gasps. Raymond rushed to her side. "Mary, it's okay. You're safe." But she didn't respond. Her body stiffened, her eyes locked at something invisible, something only she could see. Clark stepped forward. "Raymond, what's happening?" Raymond's voice was low. "She's seeing it. The real world. The one behind the curtain." Mary let out a soft cry, then collapsed back into the chair unconscious. Raymond checked her pulse, her breathing. "She's alive, but she's somewhere else now." Clark stared at her, shaken. "You've done it. You've actually done it." Raymond nodded slowly. "Yes, but I don't know what the cost will be." The hours that followed were quiet, tense. Mary lay in the chair, breathing steadily but unmoving. Raymond had wrapped the incision with clinical care, his hands still trembling slightly despite his calm exterior. Clark sat nearby, watching her with a mixture of awe and dread. "She hasn't stirred," Clark said finally. "Is that normal?" Raymond didn't look up. "There is no normal for this. We're in uncharted territory." Outside, the mist had thickened, curling around the house like smoke. The valley was hidden now, the river silent. The world felt suspended, as if waiting. Suddenly, Mary's eyes opened. Raymond rushed to her side. "Mary?" She blinked slowly, her gaze unfocused. Then she turned her head toward Clark, and he felt something shift in the air, like gravity bending. Her eyes were different, not just wide or glassy, but deeper, darker, as if they were looking through him, not at him. "She's awake," Raymond whispered. "She's back." Mary sat up slowly, her movements deliberate, almost mechanical. She looked around the room, then spoke in a voice that was quiet but unnervingly steady. "This place is not real." Clark felt a chill. "What do you mean?" Mary turned to him. "It's a shadow, a reflection. I saw the real world. It's vast, endless, and full of things we were never meant to see." Raymond leaned in. "Tell me what you saw." Mary hesitated. "There was light, but not like sunlight. It was alive, and there were shapes, beings, not human, not even close. They watched me. They knew I was there." Clark swallowed hard. "Did they speak?" Mary nodded. "Not with words, with presence. I understood them, and they understood me." Raymond's eyes gleamed. This is it. Proof. Consciousness beyond the veil. But Mary's expression darkened. "They weren't kind," she said. "They were curious, but cold, like scientists watching an insect crawl across glass." Raymond frowned. "Did they harm you?" "No," she said. "But they showed me things I can't unsee." She looked down at her hands, then back at Raymond. "You shouldn't have done this." Raymond stepped back, shaken. "Mary, You opened a door," she said, but you didn't ask what was on the other side. Clark stood, his voice low. Raymond, I think we need to stop. Whatever this is, it's too much. Raymond looked torn, his excitement battling with fear. We've come too far. Mary stood slowly, her movements graceful but strange. She walked to the window and stared out into the mist. They're still watching, she said. I can feel them. Clark joined her. The valley was gone, swallowed by fog. The stars above seemed dimmer, distant. Raymond approached cautiously. Mary, what do you see? She turned to him, and for a moment her eyes shimmered, like something else was looking through them. I see the Godpan, she whispered, and he sees me. The lamp flickered. A low hum filled the room, like a vibration in the bones. Clark stepped back, heart pounding. Raymond stared at Mary, his voice barely audible. What have I done? The hum faded, but the silence that followed was heavier than before. Raymond sat at the edge of the lab table, his hands clasped tightly, staring at the floor. Clark paced slowly, glancing at Mary, who now stood motionless by the window, her gaze fixed on something far beyond the mist. She's not the same, Clark said quietly. You can see it in her eyes. She's somewhere else. Raymond didn't respond. His mind was racing, but not with triumph, with doubt. I thought I was lifting the veil, he murmured. Revealing truth. But what if the veil was there for a reason? Clark stopped pacing. You mean, what if ignorance is a kind of mercy? Raymond looked up. We've built our lives on assumptions, that what we see is real, that what we feel is truth. But Mary saw something deeper, something older than thought, and it didn't welcome her. It tolerated her. Mary turned slowly, her voice calm but distant. It wasn't meant for us, that world. It exists without us. It doesn't care. Clark sat down, shaken. Then what are we? Just blind creatures fumbling in the dark? Raymond stood, his voice rising. No, we are seekers. That's what defines us. We ask questions. We push boundaries. We refuse to accept the surface. But at what cost? Clark snapped. You've changed her, maybe forever. And for what? A glimpse of something that doesn't want to be known? Raymond's face was twisted with anguish. I wanted to know if there was more. If the soul was real. If consciousness could reach beyond the body. Isn't that worth the risk? Mary stepped forward, her eyes locked on Raymond. You didn't find the soul, she said. You found the void. And the void looked back. Raymond staggered slightly as if struck. Then what is the soul? Mary's voice softened. Maybe it's not something to be found. Maybe it's something to be protected. Clark leaned forward. We've spent centuries trying to pierce the mysteries of existence. But maybe mystery is the point. Maybe the unknown is sacred. Raymond sat down heavily. I thought I was chasing truth, but maybe I was chasing control, trying to force the universe to answer me. Mary nodded. And the universe doesn't answer. It just is. The mist outside began to thin, revealing the valley once more. The stars above flickered, clearer now, but somehow colder. Raymond looked out the window, his voice barely a whisper. I thought I was expanding the boundaries of human experience, but I may have shattered them. Clark placed a hand on his shoulder. Then maybe the real wisdom is knowing when to stop. Mary turned back to the window, her expression unreadable. I saw the Godpan, she said, and I understand now why the ancients feared him. He wasn't a god of nature. He was a god of truth, raw, unfiltered, unbearable truth. Raymond closed his eyes. And truth, he said, is not always a gift. This isn't a story about science. It's not about surgery or even the supernatural. It's about something older, deeper, the human hunger for truth, and the peril that comes when the hunger forgets humility. Dr. Raymond was a seeker, brilliant, obsessive, convinced that knowledge was always a gift. But he wanted to lift the veil, to see what lies beyond the world we know, to touch the soul of reality. But in his quest, he forgot something. Not all truths are meant to be held. Some are meant to remain veiled. Mary became the vessel. She saw beyond the curtain. She saw the god Pan. Not the playful deity of myth, but something ancient, elemental, a force of raw, unbearable truth. And it changed her. Not with enlightenment, but with silence, with knowing. Clark, the skeptic, watched it all unfold. He didn't reject curiosity, but he questioned its cost. And through him we're reminded, wisdom isn't just knowing, it's knowing when not to ask. So what is the soul of humanity? Is it our ability to understand, or our capacity to wonder? Is truth always worth the price? Or is there grace in not knowing? The veil was lifted, and what lay beyond was not revelation. It was indifference. A universe vast and ancient, where human thought is a flicker, not a flame. To see the god Pan is to see the world as it truly is, and once seen, it cannot be unseen.